So this is going to be the assembly video for the tutorial assembly for one of these 3D printed tourbillons. So I'm going to start off with this base. You're going to grab 3 washers. You're going to grab one of these little tiny guys. You're going to place it right here in the center pin. And then you're going to grab these 2 larger washers. I'm going to place them on this axle here and then this axle right here. Then you'll have something like that. Next, you're going to want to grab the escapement wheel. It's going to look like this. And you're going to place this right on top of this axle right here. And it should be free spinning. Very important. It should be free spinning. I would recommend, if you have any sort of lubricant, a very thin lubricant. I have this right here. It's KPL. It's knife pivot lube. It's a very thin lubricant. You just need a very thin drop just to free up the movement. It works very well. Now I'm going to grab your pallet fork. You want your first layer side is going to be facing down. You want this little pin right here. You want it to be on the top. You're going to place that right on top of this guy right here. Once again, a little bit of lubricant. Don't need much. And then you're going to need another one of these small washers right here. Place it right on top of your pallet fork you just placed down. You're going to have something like that. Now you're going to want to grab this guy right here. Has a little pin. You're going to place it down. And then I normally rotate it to push the pallet to one side. Put the this little guy right here. Slide it down and then it'll lock into place. And you should see, if you were to push on the escapement, you get a you get an escapement. So now what you're going to want to do is you're going to take this little barrel spacer, place that right on top of your escapement spring, or right on top of your escapement. And then once again, tiny bit of lubricant if you have it. You don't need it. It works just fine without it, but I find it slightly smoother if you add it. And now you should have this. What next you're going to do is you're going to take the spring. You're going to make sure the spring has a little nub, and that's going to face down. This is going to be a tight fit. A little flat side on top, and this little circle here is going to press fit in here. If you can, you might be able to press it with just your thumb and press it into place. You might need to use like a pair of needle nose pliers, pressing the spring flat, holding it into place, and then using the needle nose pliers to press it into place. But it will be a very tight friction fit, but it should fit just fine, like this. So next, you're going to want to make sure that your pallet is centered, and then you're going to take your spring, set it right on top, and then you'll see the hexagons will line up. That should slide into place. And now you'll see those three little prongs in the bottom of this. We're going to line that up with these 3 little holes right here. And then, if you're lucky, it will snap into place. I've noticed some filaments like to print ever so slightly differently. For example, if I were to print this with this black filament, those little 3 prongs are a much tighter fit, so I'm going to try to change something about that, make it a little easier to assemble more consistently. But sometimes it can just snap into place. Sometimes it might need a little persuasion with a hammer or some sort of tool and just kind of tap into place. It should be a very snug fit. Shouldn't feel like it's going to come off on its own, and you'll get this. So now if you press on the escapement, should start sounding like an escapement. So now you're going to take your flywheel here, and you're going to line up the hex. So the hexagon's going to sit right on top of here, just like this. This is going to be a tight fit. I'm going to have to press it into place. Okay, there you go. Something like that. And once again, just tiny bit of lubricant, maybe a little bit more than you would have on the other pieces, just because this is going to be your most important part. And now, you should see, if you press on this, you should have essentially a tourbillon. You're going to grab one more spacer, or one more little washer, one of the bigger guys, sit right on top of that flywheel, just like that. And now you're almost done with the assembly of the actual escapement mechanism. We're going to take the top, which is this guy right here, So this is going to be a lot more, or a lot tighter fit. You're going to line up the holes, these holes on the bottom, with these pins, these four right here, and line them up. And they might need a little persuasion. Need a good amount of force. Helps to kind of go around, make sure they're all evenly spaced. Go in circles. Don't snap one all the way into place and then snap the others, because you might push one too far, and then you'll kind of make the whole system kind of stick. So now you should have a fully assembled escapement mechanism here. So now, if you were to press here, it should work just fine. The speed at which this flywheel goes back and forth will depend on a couple different things, like the density of the filament you're using, how much infill you use, but it all should work just fine. So now we're just going to assemble the base. Take this guy, this is your base, and you're going to grab this axle right here. You're going to I like to add, once again, a little bit of lubricant into here, just a little bit, and then stick the axle on here and just kind of rotate it around, make sure it's all evenly coated, and that should be fine. Next, I'm going to take these, I'm going to have 3 of these little L shapes right here. Now this round side is going to go, it's going to insert right into here. It should be a pretty tight fit. Don't be afraid to maybe get a pair of pliers or something to push it in there. Okay, there's one. Grab a pair of pliers. Now don't press too hard, or else you can sometimes bend them one way or another. Luckily, they're very small, so you can easily print another one if something breaks, and they're very quick to print. But if you can, you want to get them about as close to flat as possible. It doesn't hurt if they're a little bit, there's a little bit of space like that, it doesn't hurt, but I would rather have them all the way down at the bottom, as close as possible. Small gap, like 0.2 to 0.5 mil, should not hurt it. Just gonna insert this guy. There we go. That's good enough. Okay, so now have those 3 in. Now you'll grab your spring here. You're gonna make sure it's facing this orientation. The part that touched the print bed should be facing down, and that whenever you coil the spring, the inner coils should be getting tighter together. Now you're going to line this up on top of your axle that you placed in. It's going to snap into place, and then you're going to have this little assembly. And when you turn it, it should make like a ratcheting noise. Now, you're going to take this guy, this little spacer. You're going to make sure that these offsets are on the bottom. You're going to line this up. This will snap into place. You'll have just a little bit of a nubbin right there, and you're almost done. So, now the final steps are, I like to take this part right here, got a little bit of string in, okay, now I like to take this part here, kind of hold it in place, see if everything's going to line up, which it is. Now I'm going to take, you can do this 2 ways. Might be slightly easier like this. You can assemble this first. Just everything should be a pretty good tight fit. Just press it into place. Go about halfway and kind of evenly make sure they're all pressed around. I wouldn't seat one fully and then seat another fully. I would kind of spin in circles, make sure everything's going in at a constant rate, or else you'll risk snapping. So you'll have this assembly, you'll have this assembly. Now all you have to do now is just place this in here. You want to make sure that you have this seated so that the teeth, these little gear teeth right here, are going to line up with these. And then what I also like to do is make sure that this piece right here, this will line up with one of these prongs. It will keep the whole mechanism a lot more stable. And then you'll line up, there's a little hex on the bottom, you're going to line that up with here, and it should, so everything's said and done, should line up, and then get about here, and then just press it into place. There you go. So then you should have full assembly like this, and then everything should work, your flywheel should spin, then you should be able to crank the wheel, have a fully assembled tourbillon. Thank you for watching.